look at the headlines of this hour. U.S. officials say the military is preparing for weeks-long operations against Iran if President Donald Trump orders an attack. The reported planning comes as diplomatic efforts continue raising the stakes for U.S.-Iran talks. Taiwan's Foreign Minister Lin Chia-lung has said that China is the real threat to security and accuses Beijing of hypocrisy over UN principles. His comments come after China's top diplomat warned at the Munich Security Conference against efforts to separate Taiwan from China. Gaza's Civil Defense Authority says 11 people were killed and many are missing or wounded after an Israeli airstrike targeted a house which was sheltering displaced people north of Al-Zawayda in the central Gaza Strip. Israel says it targeted Hamas fighters after alleged ceasefire violations as both sides accuse each other of breaching the October truce. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio begins a two-day trip to Slovakia and Hungary to strengthen ties with their conservative governments. The State Department says he will discuss energy cooperation, NATO commitments, and other bilateral issues. Canada's Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand says Ottawa will not restore diplomatic ties with Iran unless there is a change of government. Speaking at the Munich Security Conference in Germany, she declines to say whether Canada would support a U.S. military strike. Gaza's health ministry says Israeli strikes have killed at least 10 Palestinians in the past 24 hours, including 5 in Khan Younis. The ministry adds more than 600 people have been killed and over 1,600 wounded since the October 10th ceasefire, as Israel says it targeted suspected fighters. Russia says a Ukrainian drone attack has damaged the Black Sea port of Taman in the Krasnodar region. Officials report 2 people injured with an oil tank warehouse and terminals hit at the facility. Residents say armed assailants on motorbikes killed at least 30 people and burned homes during raids on 3 villages in Niger State. Police confirm an attack in one village and say suspected bandits also abducted residents as pressure mounts on the government to restore security. Now for this hour, we start with Israel. Israeli airstrikes in the Gaza Strip have resulted in the deaths of at least 11 Palestinian people. The airstrikes, which targeted both northern and southern Gaza, were a response to alleged Hamas ceasefire violations. As reported by the Israeli military, among the victims were 4 people killed in an airstrike on a tent camp housing displaced families, while 5 others were killed in Khan Younis in the southern part of the Gaza Strip. The Israeli military stated that the strikes were precise and in accordance with international law, targeting Hamas, who violated the ceasefire by crossing the yellow line, demarcating Israeli and Hamas-controlled areas. Since the ceasefire began under the US-backed agreement, both Israel and Hamas have repeatedly accused each other of violations. The ongoing hostilities have resulted in significant casualties, with Gaza health officials reporting over 600 Palestinian deaths since the deal began. Now we welcome Mr. Sol Satka. He's a political commentator, joins us live from Tel Aviv. Thank you very much, Mr. Satka, for joining us again. Good to see you. Now, looking at the latest reports of this also Israeli airstrikes in the Gaza Strip that has resulted in the deaths of 11 Palestinians. So right now, as they say that, Hamas people crossed this yellow line, is this yellow line clear enough for them to not confuse between Hamas-controlled area and Israel-controlled area?
Yes, the yellow line is clearly marked out across its length. That is the boundary between Hamas-controlled Gaza and Israel-controlled Gaza, according to the ceasefire agreement. If you'll recall, Hamas are now already meant to have been demilitarized, and they're not doing it. So just the fact they're not demilitarizing themselves is in breach of the ceasefire. They are continuing to test the Israelis along that boundary. But every time they test the Israelis, they get their own people killed. And let's only hope they stop this ridiculous game. It's no benefit to them at all.
And how is the state of ceasefire and also support towards moving on to phase 2 of the ceasefire?
Well, in theory, we're meant to be at stage 2. All the hostages have been released, even though it wasn't done as promised, and Israel had to go in and get the bodies rather than them being handed over. But after 6 months of ceasefire, we reached stage 2. And stage 2 means that Hamas have to disarm. And they are not doing that. And to be honest, the prospect of them doing that is, it seems low. It seems implausible because without those weapons, they don't really function as an organization anymore.
Right. And what about the disarmament of Hamas that was supposed to take place? Do you think that Israeli government and US will push for Hamas disarmament now?
Oh, certainly they will push for it. But whether they will be able to persuade Hamas to do so is unclear, because organizationally, as we mentioned, for them, their weapons are all they have. So uncertain, time will tell. They were persuaded against their benefit, really, to hand over the hostages a few months ago. And will they hand over the weapons? Time will tell. If they do hand over the weapons, that's end of them as a functioning organization of any kind. The only way they maintain control of their own population is with those use of the weapons. And so if they don't have the control of the population, they no longer have any sway at all in geopolitics. The minimum impact that they currently have in that small territory, of which they've lost already 65% to Israel, is only due to those weapons. It's not due to the love that people have for them. The people of Gaza understand the reason they live amid rubble and in tents is because of Hamas, even though they are wary of saying so publicly, because Hamas has the habit of killing them if they do. The time will tell if they hand over the weapons. In any case, until they do, the rebuilding of Gaza is on hold.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sadka, for sharing that insight. Please stay with us as we come back to you for our next discussion as well. Now, moving on, U.S. President Donald Trump's administration has secretly deported 9 people to Cameroon, despite many of them having U.S. court protections against such actions and none of them hailing from that African nation. According to reports, several of the men and women sent to Cameroon on a January 14th flight from Alexandria, Louisiana, and did not know their destination until they were put on a Department of Homeland Security flight and placed in handcuffs and chains. Meanwhile, Department of Homeland Security, the State Department, and Cameroon's Ministry of External Affairs have not responded yet. Even this Trump's administration has not announced any deal in which Cameroon agreed to accept deportees from other nations. Now we welcome back Mr. Sol Sadka. He's a political commentator, joins us live from Tel Aviv. Thank you very much, Mr. Sadka, for staying with us. Now, looking at this, what are the implications if, Cameroon decides that they are going to deport these people as it hasn't agreed? Then what? Are they going to be sent back to U.S. or somewhere else? What are we to make of this situation?
Well, it's unclear at the moment because details, we don't have any details. The U.S. government, as you noted, has not responded. If they're not U.S. citizens, I think it's implausible in the extreme that the United States will take them back. And Cameroon certainly doesn't have the wherewithal to force America to take them back. So that would rather be the end of that. What's very interesting here is the use by the American presidency of these powers, seemingly without precedent. But one can understand why they're doing this, because in theory they can, or in practice they're able to, even if it might be dubiously legal. And there don't seem to be the usual checks and balances on the executive branch at the moment, as imagined by the founding fathers, to prevent it in practical terms. And that might be simply because the people functioning within the administration are not wary about technically doing things that are illegal or beyond the remit of what they're allowed to do within the justice system, because they expect that after their term is up, they will be pardoned for anything they might have done during their actions. And that puts America really in a very dangerous position, because it means that in future, anyone working inside the American executive branch can feel comfortable breaking the law and doing things that don't match up with the Constitution freely, with the understanding that at the end of their employment there, they will be automatically pardoned. And some of this has to be blamed on Biden, who, if you recall, on his last hour in office on the 20th of January 2025, pretty much pardoned anyone who was related to him. And that really gave the incoming president the carte blanche to do the same. And once that's understood, you can really understand why the people in the current administration might not be too worried about doing things that are obviously, clearly unconstitutional. It's an unusual time, and we can understand why the Trump administration is doing it as well, because they have an election coming up in 7 or 8 months. And the main thing that the people in America that voted for them want is they want to see America's immigration system brought under control, and deporting people, particularly when they're deporting people in conflict with the justice system, makes them look good in the eyes of their poor vote.
Right. And can you highlight the differences of immigration and their stance towards these people of Trump's and Biden's administration?
Well, the immigration levels under Biden were extremely high. Some millions of people were coming in every year through the southern border. And while the southern border is only reinforced in part, it is quite easy for the American authorities to seal the border, even in the parts where it's not walled up. And when Trump came in, although the wall has never really been built, the border security has been enforced such that people are no longer streaming over that border in significant numbers. If you remember, in the final year, 2024, of Biden's administration, there were continual pictures of large crowds of people on the Mexican border just walking into the United States, really in throngs. And that was a large part of the reason why Biden lost the election. Or rather, his successor, who was the woman who was supposed to succeed him, Kamala Harris rather, lost the election, is because her and her boss were considered incompetent in facing the immigration problem, which was a mainstream issue even for centrist Americans and even some on the left. If you could understand that even people on the working left in America would not appreciate a continual flow of cheap labor to compete with themselves.
With that, I'd like to thank Mr. Sadka for sharing that insight with us. Thank you very much. Now we move on to cricket. India's match against Pakistan in the ICC Men's T20 World Cup 2026 is scheduled at 1:30 p.m. GMT after the Pakistani government lifted its boycott order. The match is set to take place in R. Premadasa Stadium in Sri Lanka and had faced uncertainty after the Pakistani government advised the team to avoid playing against India due to political tensions. However, following talks with the International Cricket Council, the Pakistani Cricket Board and Bangladeshi officials, the government decided to let the match proceed. The fixture is expected to be one of the biggest in cricket, with huge financial implications for the sport. The match's continuation is seen as essential for maintaining the integrity of the global cricketing ecosystem, as any cancellation could affect future ICC rights deals and revenue distribution among smaller cricketing nations. Now, Mr. Sunil Yash Kalra, he's a cricket scholar, joins us live from New Delhi. Thank you very much, Mr. Karla, for joining us. Welcome to NewsX World. Now, there was so much hue and cry over Pakistan's participation in the tournament. What do you think is the reason Pakistani government relented to allow their team to play India?
Well, this is not just a game anymore. It is more about diplomacy, international relation, the external affairs across the world. If they refused to play India in this particular match, things would have gone out of hand. But again, you must give credit to the back channel talks to get Pakistan into the game and get them to play. Point number two, I think enough was made out of it. It was never a board versus board discussion or board versus ICC discussion. This purely cascaded into a nation to nation kind of a discussion where the Sri Lankan cricket board also got into the act, and they said, hello, this is what we want to do. If you're not going to come here and play, there'll be around 400 million odd losses in this exchequer, sorry, 40 million losses. So in order to look at the external affairs, the international relations, keeping the diaspora happy, keeping the wallet happy, and also getting away from the sanctions, which ICC would have done. And again, the fight at the end, after the 9-day drama, I realized that the fight was never about cricket. It was about satisfying ego, I mean, of two officials. So, yeah, good part is that India has played well. India is playing now well against Pakistan. And within hours, you'll see how the contest is going to turn out to be. Over to you,
Yes.
Asma.
And Mr. Sunil, of course, India versus Pakistan always draws the biggest crowd and viewership in the world of cricket. What are the implications of having to play this match in Sri Lanka rather than the host country, which is India?
Well, the host country would never. Things were so bad that the friendship cannot happen overnight or in a fortnight. Colombo, earlier it was UAE, Dubai, and the Sharjah Cricket Stadium used to be the official venue for the match between India and Pakistan. Now Sri Lanka, because Sri Lanka is the co-host of our tournament. So I think Sri Lanka is the obvious choice for this tournament. Like it was against Pakistan when India went and played the Women's World Cup 2 months ago. So I guess all square, India did manage to convince, but again, it'll take a while. But good news for Sri Lanka because the kind of exchequer that they're going to win and earn out of this tournament is really big, and this match has got a significant contribution in the wallet size that will come to Sri Lanka. Over to you.
And Mr. Sunil, coming to the match itself, what's your expectation for this game? Is there any player that you're excited to see?
Well, first of all, I'm excited to see, as behalf of Sri Lanka, I'm excited to see a lot of fans turning out there, buying tickets, buying hotel room nights, and that's a great cause for rejuvenation for India. But at the same time, apart from that, I'm looking at the top 5 batters. They are the most devastating batters in the history of T20 cricket. Everybody could score over 150, and which is like an unthinkable thing in the last World Cup. So you've got top 5 batters from India who can on a single day turn the match. You've got one of the best all-time T20 bowlers of all time, Jasprit Bumrah, waiting in the wings. And again, Hardik Pandya is your world's best all-rounder. So overall, if I were to look at the 7 players out of 11, India seems to be in a very safe zone, and I'd love to see which one of the 7 big guns fire tonight. Over to you.
Last but not least, Mr. Sunil, in this whole game of cricket, who's your favorite player or team?
That's a tough one to answer. In the current scheme of things, I would rather go with Sanju Samson. The way, the maturity and everything that goes with him is phenomenal. He's been a leader. He's done the IPL thing. He's waited so long he's motivated himself. So I think for me, a hallmark of everything put together is Sanju Samson. Who's my favorite team? Of course, we based out of UAE. We travel all across the world and we say the simple line, "Fir bhi Dil hai Hindustani," which roughly means India.
Very well said. Thank you very much, Mr. Sunil Yash Kalra, for joining us and sharing that insight. Now we move on to New Zealand. New Zealand's North Island is facing severe floods followed by extreme weather conditions. According to reports, the conditions led to road collapses, home evacuations, and the death of a man whose vehicle was submerged in floodwaters. The authorities warned of life-threatening conditions due to dangerous river levels and landslides caused by a deepening low-pressure system off of the island's east coast. A state of emergency was declared for Waipa and Otorohanga districts, affecting 10,000 people. This comes after deadly flooding in January, which claimed the lives of 6 people in Mount Maunganui. Now we move on. Magnus Carlsen and Fabiano Caruana will face off in the final of the 2026 FIDE Freestyle Chess World Championship. After both won their semifinals on Saturday, Carlsen, the world number 1, defeated Uzbekistan's Nodirbek Abdusatorov 3-1, while Caruana won 2.5 to 1.5 against Germany's Vincent Kiemer. The final on Sunday will crown the first FIDE recognized freestyle chess world champion. Both players have also secured qualification for the 2027 Freestyle Chess World Championship. In other action, Hans Niemann and Arjun Erigaisi will face off for 5th place. That's all we have time for. Keep watching NewsX World for more news and updates from around the world.